In 1974, a man, Tobe Hooper, set out to tell a tale, to make a chilling movie that would be felt for generations to come. That movie was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm not going to talk about the remake in this one other than a small reference. The new one I consider completely separate from this. It's just very high budget looking, and that's fine, but to me it's Hooper all the way. Texas Chainsaw Massacre centers around the idea that it is based on the real-life crimes of Ed Gein. Needless to say, it's not an entirely accurate account, but it's a brilliant way of setting the mood. A group of kids are heading to their grandfather's place to make sure his grave wasn't robbed. There was a ritualistic display found at one of the local cemeteries. On the way, the kids pick up a hitchhiker, and right away you think you find something special about the film. It's so well nuanced. Let's take a look at a bit of it.
Hey man, put that knife up. Oh, come on.
What are you doing to yourself?
They finally reach the house and explore. Franklin is not having a great time, and the trip up wasn't really a treat. Everyone runs off on him, and you really feel for him and understand his outbursts. A couple of the kids eventually wander off, and you get your first taste of Leatherface, and wow. When I first saw this film, I at least had an idea of what was coming. I can't imagine what it must have been for the first time, the audience seeing it. It must have been quite a sight. The girl doesn't fare well either, and the suggestion is filled with gore, but little is shown if you notice. Another of the guys heads up to the house to look for the couple. He enters to find the girl in the freezer, and Leatherface kills him. It seems after that, Leatherface is rather troubled by this. Franklin and Sally head out to find Jerry, the last guy that died, in the dark out in the field. Leatherface then makes another tear at Franklin and Sally, taking the chainsaw to Franklin. Poor guy, had it rough the whole film, and Hooper took no mercy on him. Sally takes off and has an epic chase through the woods, which goes on forever. Reminds me of Friday the 13th Part 2. Well, she ends up at the gas attendant's shack and ends up being beaten with a broom. Then she gets poked with a stick while being bound and gagged. She ends up at the craziest dinner ever, Leatherface sporting a new face. The scene is intense and every second is unbearable. They're hollering, piercing right into you. Grandpa has to be one of the more disturbing things, I think, in the film. A living corpse being awakened by the presence of an innocent girl. Ugh. They decide to set it up to let Grandpa strike her in the head, like a cow to kill her for who knows what reason. She squirms her way free and then jumps through the window. Eventually, she ends up jumping onto the back of a pickup and getting out of there, ending the movie. I love the grainy texture to the film. It's like it was shot with a VHS home recorder or something. It just adds to the feel of the film, I think. The family that includes the father, the two sons, and the grandfather are as demented as can be, and it distances them, lending to the psychotic atmosphere of the film. One thing that I never focused on watching this film in prior times was what was going on in Leatherface's world and how this day was affecting him, but I think Tobe Hooper himself can explain it better. Let's give a watch to a BBC documentary by Mark Gattis.
It's all about a very bad day. I mean, it's a bad day for everyone. It's a terrible day for Leatherface. Leatherface, he keeps wondering where the hell are all these kids coming from. To the point he goes, sits down by the window and looks out, and then he starts patting his face because he knows his ass is in such terrible trouble.
As well, I mentioned the sound before, and really, this movie's main weapon of attack is through the ear. All the sounds are so crisp and have meaning to its surrounding. Another thing that seems to go around about this film is that somehow it's gory, and that's simply not true. There is violence, but there are far more violent films. Some blood, but nobody gets torn apart or anything. Another thing was the element of heat in this film. That was something that was repeated a couple times, adding to the discomfort that Hooper wanted you to feel. And it lends to all aspects of the film. If you haven't seen this movie, make sure to give it a look sometime. This was HMRG, thanks for watching.